Jake Sully, the protagonist, begins the film by describing his quiet and serene existence with his family on Pandora. As the leader of the Metakaya tribe, he states that he and his wife, Neytiri, have 5 children. Currently, Netium and Loak are his sons. A daughter named Kiri, whom they adopted, and a human boy named Spider. Jake goes on to emphasize that Kiri is the daughter of his good friend Grace, who died while aiding the Navi people, humans. As for Spider, he was left behind when all of the defeated humans returned to Earth. Jake asserts that the children play cooperatively and look out for one another, despite their color and size differences. Jack notes that the children cohabit like a family. Neytiri dislikes Spider due to the fact that he is revealed to be the son of Colonel Miles Corch, the villain who nearly wiped out the Navis. It turns out that Spider was left behind on Pandora because he was too little to be transported back to Earth. As he claims, infants cannot be placed in cryosleep. Kiri, on the other hand, has a particular relationship with Spider and is extremely devoted of him. As Spider has lived his entire existence among the Navi, he believes he is one of them. One evening, while Neytiri and Jack are conversing, they observe several light spacecraft in the sky. Suddenly, the spaceships approach them and start inflicting devastation. The Metakaya is engulfed in flames, causing widespread destruction and the deaths of numerous animals aboard the spacecraft. A group of soldiers equipped with robotic artillery emerges and destroys any remaining enemies. Neytiri and Jake, who are observing from a distance, are astonished to discover that the ship is an RDA spacecraft, transporting humanity there to settle Pandora and construct a second main operational station. The scenario then turns to a human laboratory where scientists have successfully cloned the Colonel's navigation system. Before his death, his memories and data were captured and fed to him. Because to this, the Colonel's clone knows everything, except who killed him and how. In addition to the Colonel, the scientists have created the clones of other soldiers who participated in their earlier raid on Pandora. So the Colonel and his men are intent on destroying the Metakaya, and Jake in particular. Jake leads a Navi army towards the RDA train supply lines in an attempt to repel intruders. He manages to effectively penetrate the organization and steal AM. During this operation, food will be supplied. One of his sons, Loak, disobeys his orders and is injured as a result. Jake reprimands him and instructs him to be more disciplined in the future. In contrast, the Colonel encounters Senior General Ardmore, who informs him of the Navis flying partners known as SCOs. They are currently attacking and slowing down their helicopters. Hearing this, Quash devises a master plan to attack the woodland where they previously fought and gather intelligence on them. Together with his pals, he will soon arrive at the jungle. However, Jake's children are also playing in the same woodland. The Colonel then searches the previous battlefield and discovers his robot's suit still on the ground. Loak observes everything happening, and he instantly telephones his father via a voice transmitter around his neck. Jake considers this and proposes that Loak keep his distance and depart the area quietly. He and Neytiri then fly towards the jungle to ensure the safety of their children. When Loak and his brothers attempt to flee, they are unfortunately captured by humans. The Colonel examines their fingertips and discovers that they are his greatest rivals. Children at the time, Neytiri. Jake reaches the location and attacks the soldiers. They are able to release the majority of their children, save for Spider. Unfortunately, the boys were abducted by the bad humans. When the Colonel asks Spider his name later, he readily realizes he is his son. Jacob approaches his wife in Metakaya and recommends that they depart the location and travel to the eastern seaboard. He is concerned that the Spider will inform the Colonel and his people of their whereabouts. Jake also informs Neri that the humans will continue to assault the tribe until he arrives, as he is the one who killed Colonel Korish in the first place. Neri does not wish to leave her beautiful home, but she understands that her husband is correct. Thus, she accepts to move with them. On the other hand, Spider was treated cruelly in common Ardmore dishes. Yes, he can be made to speak by placing him in a rotating machine. Place him in the tiny naked person spinning machine. He attempts to get vital information from the youngster, but he is too devoted to his Navi parents, and he refuses to cooperate. Interestingly, the Colonel is unable to recognize his son in this. Hence, he stops the spinning machine instantly. So he approaches the general and informs her that he will deal with the Spider in his own manner. Later, he reassures the youngster in a separate room that he is not a nasty person. He also reveals that he is coming to return him to Earth. This warms Spider's heart, and he ultimately decides to offer the requested information. In the subsequent scene, Jake and his entire family depart their original land on their scows. After several days of flight, they finally arrive to where another Navi tribe resides. Strangely, the Navs living in this area are paler and prefer to remain in the water. Upon seeing Jake and his group, they begin to mock their appearance. The leader of the tribe of No Worry and his wife will arrive shortly. He expresses skepticism towards Jake and his family, stating that they are unfit to survive in the wilderness. Yet he was determined to save his family. Jake guarantees that they will quickly adjust to the new environment. He then explains how they are being pursued. Hearing this, Tonawari ultimately grants them permission to stay and gives them with shelter. He also requests that his children educate Jake's children how to swim and use their unique aquatic critters to navigate the water. The youngsters of Tonawari take their new companions to the seashore and begin teaching them the basics. Elsewhere, the mischievous Loke attempts to communicate with a marine creature. As he loses control and tumbles into the sea, the children begin to giggle. Kiri can be observed deep within the ocean. Remarkably, she has acclimated well to her new environment and can even command some marine life. The following day, as Kiri is meditating underwater, Tonawari's son Elwong and his pals approach her and begin calling her a freak in a mysterious and convenient manner. This causes LOAC to arrive and punch Elwong. Ong does not take this sitting down though, and begins clapping his sticktail. Jake instructs his kid to apologize to Ong as the clan leader's son after learning of the incident. Loke reluctantly agrees and apologizes. Although Aang forgives him in front of the others, he still carries resentment against him. In order to educate a low-achieving adolescent, he takes him to a predetermined spot. Under the guise of swimming, LOAC is blind to the presence of deadly marine predators in the vicinity. A short while later, while Loke is fishing, a big animal approaches him with alarming speed. Afraid, Loke searches for assistance but finds no one. Then though, a gigantic creature named Payakan comes to the rescue. It quickly kills the prey with the aid of its broad head. Payakan is revealed to be a Tulkun, a pleasant and clever creature. The Metkayina consider the tens of thousands of Tulkuns in the ocean to be their spiritual family. Payakan is the largest and most powerful of all of them. In the interim, Payakan rescues and brings LOAC to the surface. The latter also aids the species by removing harpoons that were reportedly harming it. This results in the formation of a great friendship between the two. Loke climbs despite his blow. It is revolting. As Loke later reaches land, Tonawari summons him. The stern boss has discovered his son's misdeeds and demands an apology from Aang. Yet this unselfish Loke accepts responsibility for his acts and lies about Aang's involvement. This ultimately convinces Aang that the new fleets are not so terrible. After some time has passed, Loke reunites with his brother in France, where he describes how Payakan saved his life. Surprisingly, no one believes him. Instead, they tell that Payakan is a killer, which is why the other Tulkuns abandoned it. Meanwhile, the spider briefs the colonel on naviculture and takes him to the Hallelujah Mountains to choose a scout. Initially, the colonel struggles, but he quickly gains mastery. Soon thereafter, flies around. Also, he obtains information regarding Jake's likely location and travels to the Metkayina Reef. As his army begins to arrive, he confronts some Zoras and asks whether they know Jake. When the Navis respond negatively, the bad humans murder one of them and torch their homes. Despite this, the Navs stand by their claim that no options are available. The colonel instructs his crew to implement Plan B. Now he wants to murder a big number of tool guns in the hopes that this will finally draw. Jake, however, there is an additional benefit to killing them. The Tulkun's brains contain a valuable liquid that can prolong the duration of life on Earth. 1 liter of this liquid will fetch millions of dollars. Space. The only material more valuable than unobtainium is whale brain mush. Soon, some hunters will begin pursuing the sea creatures. They rendered countless trackers unconscious by striking them with multiple blows. In a terrible scenario, a mother Tulkun is mercilessly slain while her child lies next her in disbelief. Eventually, the humans go while the trackers remain within the Tulkuns. As the Metkayina learn that their companions are being murdered, they grow enraged and decide to join the assault. But Jake reassures them that they first need to alert the Tulkuns about the trackers. This is the sole means of preventing a future strike. Upon hearing this, Lok immediately departs to inform his best friend Payakan. Ong and a couple additional locals join him. After some time, they soon encounter Payakan and prepare to extract the tracker from his body. Nevertheless, the colonel and his hunting party come in their whale right at that moment. After observing them, Loxi immediately contacts his father to notify him of the situation. He and his companions were also able to remove the tracker from Pei's body. They then hide underwater until the colonel's crew begins searching for them. In the meantime, Jake informs Tanawari that their children have gone missing. This concerns the latter, so he tells his soldiers to immediately prepare for battle. Jake and Neytiri also got their weapons, and they will soon all head to the fight together. In contrast, the colonel orders his crew to mount an assault on the Tulkas and locate Jake's children. After a period of searching, they eventually discover Kiri and capture her with a net. Lok does his best to rip the net, but he is drawn to the whale ship along with it. Shortly, the colonel will arrive and handcuff them to the railing. For the safety of his children, he then takes the Lok color transmitter and demands Jake's surrender. Without options, Jake consents to his terms. At the same time, Payakan observes that his best friend Lok is tied to the deck and makes the daring decision to rescue him. He abruptly leaps onto the deck and begins to move his massive fins. This causes a large number of soldiers to be sacrificed and the ship to be destroyed, taking advantage of the diversion, Jake and the meta. Moreover, Kana launched an assault against the colonel and his army. They want to save their children, but they also want revenge. Meanwhile, Spider damages the controller of the whale ship, causing it to strike the rocks and allow water to flood within it. Later, Jake and his eldest son Netium rapidly climbed the deck to release Lok, Chook and Kiri. The children were then ordered to retreat to safety. Lok refuses. Instead, he chooses to rescue his adopted sibling. Spider Netium joins him, and after some hunting, they discover Spider. While they're preparing to exit the ship, the colonel notices them and starts fire. However, Netium is gravely injured after being struck by one of the bullets. Lok and Spider rush into their mother on the coast, but he passes away due to significant blood loss. Watching her son die right in front of her eyes, Neytiri begins to sob and scream loudly. Using his scown, the evil colonel manages to capture Kiri and Tuck. He later contacts with Jake and says that both his two girls are with him. After receiving this knowledge, Jake manages to calm down Neytiri and convince her to help him save their daughters. The latter complies and is brimming with wrath. She summons her scown, grabs her bow and arrows, and flies towards the ship while armed with both. Jake will soon approach the ship and trigger an explosion that will kill the colonel's soldiers. Neytiri also arrives there and starts shooting arrows at the surviving people, killing them all instantaneously. Meanwhile, Jake discovers that his daughter has been abducted and freezes her, but the colonel also arrives. He is holding Kiri at knife point. The latter reluctantly drops his weapons after being threatened to do so. Meanwhile, a vindictive Nair captures Spider and threatens to execute him. First, the colonel states that he has no connection to Spider, but when Neytiri makes a minor cut on the boy's chest, he instantly departs. After this, Neytiri and her family prepare to depart, but the colonel mentions that he will pursue Jake and kill him again in the future. Jake knows that he must eliminate the colonel in order to live in peace. He returns to the battlefield as a result. This time, the bitter enemies engage in an old-fashioned fistfight. It is cruel, and the two go hand in hand, stride for stride. In the end, though, our hero Jake triumphs. He is able to around the colonel's neck and render him unconscious. Jake believes he is deceased and allows him to drown in the water. Unfortunately, he too has difficulty breathing and begins to sink, but Loiki rescues him and returns him to the top later. The Payakan transports the entire family to the shore. On the other hand, Spider saves the life of his biological father by pulling him from the sea. But when asked by the colonel to depart with him, the Spider refuses and returns to his adoptive family. Jake's family and the entire Metakea tribe buried Netium's body in the bottom of the ocean, where the lights tubes welcome him as their own in the last scene. Jake recalls his favorite memories of his older son and realizes that he is in heaven with their God as the film concludes. Subscribe to our channel Film Insider for similar videos. To support the channel, click the bell icon and give it a like. Thank you for watching.